This is the Modern Mastery Unleashed podcast.
With every new level of success, there are new devils. Have you ever heard that? New levels, new devils. That's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. We've got Ionit Sabatello back in the studio. We are super excited to have you.
Hi.
As we sort of end off February, we've got Paul Davidson here, of course, co-host of Modern Self-Mastery Unleashed. And we're talking about the evolution of you, your circle, your community, and all the resistance that you feel along the way that look like lows. You know, those peaks and troughs of life, that roller coaster of life that we all can identify with. So let's kick this off with, shall we kick this off with the topic of if you were single this February? Because last time we were here, Ionit was talking about how do you find your soulmate? And Valentine's Day has come and gone. Hopefully you're still loving yourself, still in that lovey-dovey relationship with whomever you're with, but maybe you're not. And so let's maybe start there with, Ionit, what are your thoughts like for people who are finding themselves single at this time? What kind of resistance could they be feeling as a relationship healer and expert yourself?
Yes. Well, we started very strong. We started with the statement of resisting. And we talked about evolution of yourself and your community or your circle. And funny enough, they're all related to each other. They're all connected. I was asked once, how come people find themselves single? And I said, because they think about themselves as such. We are not single. We never can be single in our lives. We have a relationship constantly with ourselves. Like you have yourself for, until the day you die. You have to get along with yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to have compassion towards yourself. You have to have a good relationship, healthy relationship with yourself. And with that, you have other circles that expanding around you. Before we go to the circles outside of us, there is another circle inside of us, which is the connection to the universe and the connection to the oneness or the divine energy or spirit, or however one wants to call it, God maybe, which again is another relationship that we have internally. And so when we acknowledge that, we accept that, we repeat that and affirm that to ourselves, we're never really single. We're always in a relationship. Now, the question is, who are we going to meet next to, with their vessel, with their physical being, to embody that spirit next to us? Does that make sense? If we are open to have a relationship with someone, then it doesn't matter how they look like. It doesn't matter their external traits. All that matters is that the soul recognizes the other soul, and that the spirit there is there is a sparkle with that spirit. So let's just start with single people. They are single by choice, subconsciously, only because they say to themselves, I'm still single. And from there, we have the other circles. We have circles of communities, circles of culture, and friendships and colleagues, networking we talked about before we started the recording. We have all sorts of circles of communities around us that actually either encourage us to stay where we are or encourage us to grow. And the resistance in those communities is also very strong because a lot of people are scared to make to make a step that is a bit different than what is common in that community. They have a resistance to make some kind of a change because they don't want to go against their circle, their own circle of safety. So when someone is single, again, I would encourage to think, what are the collective blueprints that they're having with themselves about being single or about meeting someone? I've worked with a few people that came from different cultures. And so when they met the love of their life, if it was from some other culture or other religion, they literally had to either block it, this love, or they had to go through a lot of challenges against the family, against their culture. So obviously farther on, they will be scared or more scared to take any step not to be single.
Oh my goodness, I can so relate to that. Having a parents who like don't necessarily like who you're with or approve who you're with because you're their princess, no one is good enough for them. And then I always hear this, or I think we tell ourselves this, it's so hard to make new friends the older you get. When you're in school, it's easy. When you're in college or university, it's easy. When you're at work, like traditional work, I guess we could say, you're in the office, you're mingling with everybody. But then, we're working from home. There's all this stuff around loneliness, which, to be honest, was the pandemic, even before the pandemic. And I know in Toronto, for example, when you're talking about like major cities like New York, London, Toronto, they have all these studies of all the real estate development is single dwelling condos. It's like a box that you could only fit in maybe with a little chihuahua or something, a little dog. So you've got people who are just you. And I really fell into this, I had a condo in Toronto. It was small. And I would just make that it wasn't like home. I mean, it was home, of course, but I got so bored of just coming and doing, it felt like I was on repeat every day. And that was me resisting the level of change that was actually happening, but that I didn't realize, but I felt disconnected. And I think that's what you're talking about when you have that internal relationship with the universe, God, whomever, but actually you don't have it and you don't have that relationship with yourself. And so you feel disconnected, disenchanted with life, and you're just looking for something to just wake you up.
Yes.
Paul, I know you have something to say about this.
I've got so many thoughts. So, something that I heard probably 6 years ago now, when I first began to really awake and ask really big questions and start observing human behavior and what drives people to do what they do. I love that. But this theory of separation is very much felt nowadays. Like, separation is driven by governments, football teams, nations. A book called Anthony de Mello's Awareness is an absolute kick up the arse for awareness in a whole different level of conditioning and how we're conditioned from day one. Right? But something beautiful that I heard about oneness, wholeness, that place that you're in where you can't want for anything, where you feel like you feel like you're everything and nothing at the same time, which is a strange thing to say. But I was talking to a friend of mine who's an absolute crazy guy. So he's in his 60s and he's skydiving all over Europe, and he's got a different interest every month. And he said he's never felt more alive. But he was at his lowest ebb a couple of years ago, to the degree and seriousness where he was trying to take his own life. He was at that low an ebb in his life, and he had a moment where he suddenly felt part of everything and nothing at the same time, and he felt so whole that he couldn't want for anything. And this, I haven't spoken in depth to this guy at all, and we were just chatting at an event, and he just came straight out with it to me. He said, "I've never told anyone this before. I don't know why I'm telling you this." So I said, "Well, I do." "Well, that's all right." But I think that the understanding of whatever God means to you, that could be the great outdoors, right? That could be where your connection is found. It doesn't mean what it needs to mean to you. But I love the notion of that you're not a drop in the ocean, you're an ocean in a drop. And that's exactly
Beautiful.
what we are. We are all truly connected, by the formless stuff that you can feel. And Dr. Joe Dispenza's measured this brain and heart coherence. And when we're in coherence, our electromagnetic field projects like 8 meters outside of us that carries information. So that's a real thing. It's a real thing. But the separation and loneliness, I totally get it. And like I've had spells of that myself, and it comes from a weakness and a pattern in me where I felt like I need to be able to do this on my own and not need any help. But what I've come to realize through the help of Charlie Maxey, which ruins me every time I ever see anything from Charlie Maxey, which is the book The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse, and the animation, which has me in tears all the time. But good job we're just having a conversation between us three, and no one will ever know this, of course. But when you ask for help, it's not a sign of weakness, it's actually a sign of strength, isn't it? Because you're refusing to give up when you ask for help, and that's taken me some time to come around. And basically it's the death of the ego, isn't it? And I think once your ego slowly starts to die off, then you feel connected to everything and everyone, and you feel much more wholeness with less material things. And there is nothing wrong with material things. In the book of Science of Getting Rich, which is by Wallace D. Wattles, he talks about in order to become your best self physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, you need refinement. You need the use of things, and
Yes.
things cost money. And when we're in beautiful surroundings and environments, you feel higher vibe. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing holy and amazing about being penniless. There's no nobility in that, because you can help more people. But I think that just understanding that you are part of something that's so much bigger. And as a scientist, not Dr. Brian Cox, but this is something, just talking about universe again, just briefly. Some of the most amazing things I've ever heard was that we stand on the earth and we look up at the universe and you think, oh my God, it's like there's the universe and there's me. Like I'm alive within the universe, but actually our chemical makeup is that of stars. So actually the universe lives within us. It is an absolute fact. And again, that's like the ocean in a drop type thing, which I think is just a beautiful thing. And I think to have that connection, a lot of people feel that within nature as well, don't they? And that's God, the great outdoors thing again. You find this connection so easily without forcing it. But this whole notion of resistance is a huge thing, because I think in certain social circles that you're in, people like you to do well, but not better than them. And they'll support the underdog until you're no longer the underdog.
Mm.
So when people cheer for you is when you don't need it.
That's sadly true.
Ionit, I know you have something on this because we were talking about that resistance when you're growing and you're having to leave your old self behind, you have to leave old friends behind, you have to leave old communities behind.
Yes.
Let's dive into that a little bit.
Um, yeah, I have something as well with Paul, so I'll try to connect all of us of everything that we talked. Um, it's something that you said as well, Natalia, with the urban architecture that promotes certain agenda or a certain lifestyle. And the minute you were talking about that, I was thinking about the suburbians, for instance, that is aimed for family environments or families growth, have 2 kids, 3 kids, maybe more than that in some cultures. And so from when you said that someone is actually asking for that change, but they don't know how to change that. And then Paul was talking about having this life event that requires you to make a change. And this is what brings me to here and now, where we have to agree on one thing. And this is the hardest part for human beings to acknowledge. Life can be easier. Life can be easier. When you make the choice intentionally to change your life, yes, perhaps there will be a little bit of resistance there because other people won't understand what you're doing. They will have things to say because they know you for a certain personality that you have or for a certain type that you are. And now that you will change for them in front of their eyes, they might not like it. But at the same time, when someone is resisting that change and ignoring that inner voice, ignoring the connection to nature, the connection to the oneness, the connection to the universe, then this is this is why I called my page your divine wake-up call, because we will receive a slap on our face at one point. We can ignore it as much as we'd like. The universe will slap. It can be, I worked with people after car accidents that this is what they needed in order to wake up in their lives, or surgeries, people that went into surgery. And like in Paul's example with his friend, people feel detached completely and they feel like they want to end their lives. And so when we're thinking about taking actions or taking decision towards changing our lives, let's just decide I want it to be easy. And then instead of waiting for a life-changing event that will make us go back into ourselves, let's just go to have a meditation. Let's just go and have a retreat or a day at the spa where you can connect back to yourself and listen to your own voice, listen to your own soul, because that's the best way to live your life and to make the right decisions afterwards and to know which steps you should take with success guaranteed. It's not whether you will succeed or not, because when you're on that um, uh, alignment with yourself and aligned path, then it's either success or learning. There is no failure there. And then we're talking about communities, because our surroundings will always support us to a certain degree, to the level of awareness that we are supposed to awoken to or awake to. And they are, bless their souls, they are there to show us the lessons that we need to overcome in order to grow more and expand, or to support us when things are a little bit difficult and just to remind us, no, you're actually great, you're better than what you think you are inspiration already, just keep on going, keep doing what you do. And then at times we have to say goodbye to those communities, because we've reached a certain level that from that level there's no more growth. And then we stay stuck. We stay in the same place. We stay stagnant, and we're refusing to let go of people or situations or communities out of fear that we won't find anything like that, or that no one else can understand us better than these people because they known us for 5 years, 10 years, even 1 year sometimes. But we're getting attached to history as well. So when we are making that decision, okay, I want life to be easier for me. I want to change with ease and grace. I want to transform to my highest next version. And universe, please deliver. It will arrive. You just need to follow the signs that you're receiving and be courageous. It's part of this journey that no one teaches us. And there is a book, probably Paul knows the author, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Fear is a feeling that can be transformed instantly into excitement. It's literally the same symptoms in the body, the physical body. So when we are transforming, we really need to go with our hearts and overcome the fear that comes in our mind. That's the alignment, to feel that this is good for us and overcome that fear because it's different, because it's scary, because it's unknown, because what will happen, and all the inner chatter that we have. That's the alignment of this journey, and it goes hand with hand. So we said any level there is new devil, but also any level has its own fear, that we need to just feel it and take that next step. Take that next step. It's a never ending journey.
Oh my goodness, you're taking me back to when I decided to take a sabbatical and go retreat hopping and just tap into like feel that connection with self. And I really needed to like escape life to find life. And that's why I'm so passionate about, well-being and retreats, and because it's the fastest way to transformation, but it's also the fastest way to connect and to let go of whatever you're holding on to. Because as soon as you leave that door, your front door, you are out of your comfort zone. As soon as you decide to leave that job, as soon as you decide to start that business, as soon as you decide to start that side hustle, whatever it is, it's like, what's the worst that could happen? And I love that question because it reframes for you. Yeah, actually, what is the worst that could happen? I go and it doesn't work out and I have to come back. Okay.
So let's
What
just
else?
ask, what is the best thing that can happen as well?
That is
Whenever you have that
it.
fear,
Got it.
whenever that fear comes up, what is the best thing that can happen here? I'll get successful, I'll have impact, I'll influence others, I'll transform other people's life, I'll be in my light, I'll feel more connected, I'll be able to live in my dream home, I will be able to spend more time with my kids and family, I will have more time for myself and for self-care routine. And all of a sudden, oh my God, how come I'm not doing it already? How come I haven't taken that step already?
I
Well,
love
Fear.
that.
that's I
Reframe.
mean,
Let's
I think
overcome it.
exactly. I mean, these are fundamental questions, aren't they? And there were two actually that I just heard from Alex Hormozy, which would, what would I do if I wasn't afraid, and what would I do if I knew I couldn't fail? And so, and they're powerful questions because, again, like, behavior change is just one of the biggest things in human existence, which is why it's so hard, is that consciously we say, this is what I want, this is where I want to go. The 10%'s having a crack at that. But you think, yeah, yes, I want to get into better shape and I want to be much healthier this year. Right, I'm going to go for it. Well, we'll just order a Domino's tonight, but show us I'm knackered, you know. Do
I
you know
expect
what I mean?
more.
It's just like, yeah, it's like what I've found is like the highest resonance that exists in the world is actually higher than love, is actually authenticity, measured in a Faraday cage by Gary Brecker. And I think when you're moving in alignment of what you say, what you do, what you want, and you're acting in full alignment, I mean, that's powerful because typically the thoughts are all messed up. So then the other two just can't follow. Your actions, your beliefs, your goals, your aspirations stutter because actually subconsciously there's a programming blueprint in there that's saying, whoa, like no, like our blueprint is here, and that's cooking us up way too hot to be going doing that. So we're gonna have to self-sabotage, we're gonna have to procrastinate on that thing now, because it's going to mean something. And actually one of the best books I've ever read is The Mountain Is You by Brianna West, which is all about self-sabotage and why you do it. And it's basically summed up. It's self-sabotage is just an unconscious fear of the unknown. So, and there's an unmet need there. So obviously, whatever you do when you're self-sabotaging, whatever that mechanism is, whether you're scrolling, watching TV, or comfort eating, whatever it might be, pissing around, not doing what you should be doing when you need to do it, whether you feel like it or not, I should add, is because something much deeper is going on. It's saying, look, if we go there and we play to win instead of playing not to lose like we do, so that's going to mean something. And what's that going to mean? That's going to mean my circumstances are going to change. And that subconscious belief might be a fear of success. I've had this. You think, how on earth can you be afraid of success? Well, it's going to mean something's going to change. Everything's going to change. But do you know what I mean? You've got to really
Yeah.
dissect that unmet need. What is that unmet need that's there? Not what you keep saying, not measuring what you keep saying, what do you keep writing down as your vision? What are the goals that you can't follow through on? So what's the behavior? Just observe your own behavior. Why are you doing whatever you're doing? Because at the end of the day, we got to come back to what we do. You become what you do daily. So nothing in your external environment is going to change unless you change. Like Jim Rohn says, everything gets better for you when you get better. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. And that's it. And that kicks off with the better thoughts, doesn't it? Like, how can I enjoy this more? How can I enjoy doing this more? And that we just don't use the brain in its right function, like, because we take on all the internal chatter of it absolutely tearing strips off us all day long. Like, yes, we have between 40 and 70,000 thoughts a day, but 80% of those are negative ruminations. They're not positive. And so you think, okay. So I was coaching this guy, and he said, "Look, I've just got all these negative thoughts all the time. No matter all, it's got this program running, and it's driving me a bit insane. I keep trying to move forward, and then it just really gets to me." And I said, "Well, why don't you just ask your brain, how could I? How could I do this thing?" And you'll start to get answers that are really helpful. He said, "Oh." So I said, a quick exercise to stop all chatter. Just ask yourself, what am I going to think next? And it'll go deadly silent.
Yes.
And you create space for yourself. And it'll stop that chatter and just ask, how could I do it? What are the steps I could actually take? And you'll start getting answers. You don't need me
So,
for that, but it's just a good sounding board, And it's like, sometimes we're never trained for this stuff, are we? We're just, we just do the best with the awareness and tools that we have. But that's why we do this podcast, right? And so I think it's such a major thing that we're talking about. You know, behavior change communities, massive. You know, and you're so right, Ionit. You can be stuck in a community actually you've built good connections with. And Helen, my wife, is brilliant at observing stuff. So she'll like, I worked at a place once many years ago, and she said, take a look around and who do you aspire to be like? And I thought, nobody,
Mm.
not one person. I'm in the wrong place. So, I mean, I've got nobody to aspire to, nobody to be like. So that environment's typically not dragging me down. It's just, you know, derogatory to other people. You know, people do the best they can with the awareness that they have. So I
But they're
thought I
not
have to move on.
inspiring you.
Yeah. So I have to move on. And if you don't, like you quite rightly said, my goodness me, in my life, have I had probably half a dozen good whacks by the universe to say, look, come on, what are you doing over there? You know, we keep nudging you this way and putting things in your way to make this really hard so that you just find the place you're meant to be. Come on. So, like, I was listening to a podcast the other day talking about human behavior and about this guy saying that he said, you know, when you look at a dog and it's just led there asleep and it's so happy, it's just so happy. And all it wants to do is have a bite to eat and go for a walk, you know, have a wee in the garden. It's just happy. It's just so happy. And it's like, I wish I could be like that, but I can't. And I think that there are people that are happy like that. But I think when you're wired and you're awake, if you don't use that unexpressed potential, it will eat you alive. And I think like I've noticed that the negative emotions I feel is when I'm out of alignment, just out of alignment in
Mm.
what I'm thinking, doing, becoming, being. I'm just out of whack, totally out of alignment. And it's about coming back to basics. And I love what you were talking about, the retreat. So, like, obviously, you two are well advanced in this area. But I think that the most beautiful thing about that is that you lose the identity of someone, something in some place in some time, and all of that disappears. And you become no one, no thing in no place and no time. And you just come home, don't you? You just come home immediately. And I think that's the life, that's the soul's journey, isn't it? To know who you are and what you're about. That's the soul's journey, really. And just shedding all of those identities of what you have to be for other people and all these performances that we put on. And okay, that's a natural thing. That's a natural thing. But I think when you take that time, that protected time for yourself, and you come home and you know, it's like, again, we talk about the great outdoors, like when you go places with no signal on this, actually you can start hearing the signal, can't you?
Yes.
I digress.
Well, I mean, that's, I think, why we like creating communities, like the three of us. Like, Yana, I know you have a community, which I'm going to ask you to talk about. Because I think people who are awakened and have this calling to share and I don't want to say teach, but just create a space where people can come home, feel loved, feel like they can just be without judgment or fear of whatever is going on. That's really beautiful. And like that's why we created the premium community. And like Yana, I know I want to invite you to talk about your community because it's important because we all, I mean, I have a few different communities that I run. I know Paul has a few different communities and we've come together and created a small community, but I want to hear about yours as well because it's a really sacred space.
Thank you. Yes. Um, there is a magical effect in an aligned or soul aligned community. when a group of people coming together with shared inspiration, shared intention, um, shared goodness as well. There is something so powerful in those groups, and I have this example from one of the masters that I'm learning from. When you have a child that asks you for an ice cream, and they will nag and please mommy, bring me an ice cream. And when it's just one child, you can say, okay, soon, don't worry, soon it will come. Maybe tomorrow, maybe in a week, maybe next month. Yeah, never really happens, but okay, tomorrow or next week. But then when you have three kids that shouting, mommy, please, we want ice cream, we want ice cream, you can't ignore that. You you will provide as soon as possible, because the energy of that group of little people is strong with their intention and desires. So if you're comparing the parent for a second to the divine parents, either Mother Earth or Heavenly Father, or however you want to call it, God, when a group of people meet together to do healing work, to do the energy work, to up level themselves with their frequencies, so they're not vibrating on low frequencies of guilt and shame and frustration and grudge. It's not like they are not feeling it, but we work constantly to shift those feelings as fast as possible and to learn those lessons, because this is how we evolve, how the soul evolves, by understanding the emotions, what are they signaling to us, and then what do we learn from that, and what can we do differently. So that's a healing journey. When a group of people does that on a regular basis together, the universe cannot ignore their ice cream requests. It just can't. And that's why I've opened my group, and I have actually a free group, a private group. We have 82 members now since October. So we've grown really fast, actually. And another membership group which called the Love Club. And we literally meet twice a month to do the healing work and to see the transformation, to see the rapid transformations. And I can share happily and proudly and with so much joy saying that women came to this group after separation, and they found their soulmates, and they were in the most loving relationship and connection that they've ever knew. I've received from them smiles, like the big smile on their face with their new partner behind them, giving them a big cuddle. And one of the message was, I couldn't allow this kind of love to come in without the Love Club. I have women there that worked on health problems that they had, and they instantaneously just healed from that. Not that I work on physical aspect, but it's all within the energy and the intention. And the group, when we're lifting up every person there, we want everyone to succeed there, whether with the kids, career, coaching business. We had a lady there that with her husband, they did like an exit with their company. It was just like amazing journey for her to go through. And it's just, this is it. This is the power of the group. This is the power of community that is aligned and vibrates high. So we have a lot of, you can say, a lot of buddies at the pub, drinking pints of beers, complaining about their wives, complaining about their work or the date that they had. And you can choose, instead of going there, to do something more uplifting and join a community that, like Paul said, either you have someone to aspire to there or inspiring you there, or you just know that this will be the best catalyst in your life to receive things better, faster, with ease. So this is the love club.
That's amazing. No, and I hope people are picking up on how you are feeling. Like if you just ask yourself, how do I feel when I'm in this community or when I'm in these people? Because you have, of course, joined them for a reason, you know, that saying people are there for seasons and reasons. And when you start to feel out of alignment, which can just simply feel like disconnection or sadness or frustration or any of those low vibrational feelings, it's time to evaluate. It's time to ask the questions that Paul was talking about, that Ionit was talking about, that I was talking about. Start to say, I mean, I love that question, Paul. Who do I want to aspire to? Who do I feel like is inspiring me here? And if the answer is no one, you've outgrown that community, and that's okay. You know, that if you need a permission slip, this is your permission slip to say goodbye and find your new tribe, find your new community with people that are there who have achieved what you want to achieve, who are on that same path or who have those same dreams, people who are now evolving to their next self. And yeah, I just want people to know that it's okay to do that. And it's evolution. It's the evolution of you, your circle, your community, just like what we started
Yes.
with. So I'll just see if anyone has any final thoughts or comments. And yeah.
Yes. I just want to say from an empowering perspective, sometimes when you're feeling that you're outgrown your community, it doesn't necessarily mean that there need to be someone there to inspire you or you need to aspire to. But sometimes when all we see the dark around us, or let's say darkness, or people that are not yet in our level of awareness, it might just be that you are the light. And you're not supposed to be the part of that community, but you're supposed to lead that community. And this is something that can come with resistance as well, because people will think, who am I to say something? But actually, when you embody yourself and when you're aligned to your truth, other people will find you inspiring. And that's how you change community behaviors without making them change. You're just changing yourself and your dynamics with others, and then you inspire them to do some change in their lives. And I've done that. I have to say, I've done that with my own family. My family, I always felt like the black sheep, not belong to, rebel. They didn't understand a word of what I was saying, like seriously, like and I was talking this language without knowing I'm talking this language since I was young. And at one point, I just said, I'm done with trying to prove myself, and I'm done with trying to convince others that I'm right. I just know that what I do is right for me. Once I've stopped trying to explain, and I've just embodied who I was and stepped into my own greatness, my own light, my family dynamics just completely transformed with my mom, with my older brother. I have two other siblings that, bless them, we're still in that transition. But definitely things have changed, not because I said to anyone, you have to change, but just by changing myself and stopped looking for someone else to approve me. I was just, okay, I'm leading now my way, and you're welcome to join me on that journey. And that's how we raise up frequencies for other communities. I can tell you that both of my family members that I mentioned, they have changed their own mindset about things, their own way to have their own thoughts, not because I told them that's how you're supposed to think, but they realized actually whatever she says out there in social media kind of makes sense. And maybe we can listen a little bit more. Maybe we can ask her a little bit more questions. And I've received questions from my own family members about perspective. And with that, I think when we started the conversation about resistance, let's talk about the solution of resistance, which is surrendering. And this is exactly what Paul mentioned, and you, Natalia, as well. When we're asking the right questions, we will receive the right answers. And all we need to do is to surrender to that voice, to surrender to the answer that we're receiving, and to accept it, and just to say, okay, fine, I'm following this voice now without any resistance. This is the way to say, okay, you know what? I've done enough with resisting in my life. Let's try surrendering a little bit and allow the answers to come up. And as Paul mentioned, then the new nutritional food will show up. The new workout by Paul Davidson will be on their Instagram feed. The new retreat by Natalia Edelman will come up on their TikTok feed. That's how it goes. That's how the universe delivers our answers, either by the ads that we're seeing, by the songs that we all of a sudden hearing, the offers that we see on the supermarket, people that all of a sudden just saying something to us, and that leads us to discover more awareness. And it's literally just to surrender. Maybe I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn anything that will support me. That's it.
Yeah. No,
Surrender.
it's a beautiful thing, isn't it? And I think it was the Buddha that said that it's attachment that causes pain, and a massive lesson is unlearning, isn't it? And
Yes.
you truly have to let go to grow. And so detachment is a massive topic, isn't it? Like, just not detachment in a cold way, but letting go of what no longer serves you with grace. And
Letting go and letting God.
yeah, yes, absolutely. So, and that's the thing, isn't it? Because there are parts of you that you know are really trying to anchor where you are, and in resistance your matter trying to change matter, but instead of just moving with a bit more grace and ease into those things, and that's where community again is. I think once you, like, especially in my experience, when you wake up and you think, hang on a minute, what am I doing here? What am I here for? How am I supposed to contribute and leave my mark? How do I wring every bit of potential out of me and leave it all out on the field of play whilst I'm alive, and make the world a better place? Well, when you start asking those big questions and you start moving in a direction which is the outlier's path, it can get lonely very quickly, can't it? Because then all the people around you see you changing, and you get the crabs in a bucket syndrome, don't you? You must have heard of the crabs in the bucket. But basically, if like, the story is this guy, I think Bedros talks about it, Bedros Koulian, that he saw a guy who was crab fishing, and he's got this big bucket sack, no top on it, and he's got all these crabs in it, and one of them's trying to climb out, and he says, "Oh, you've got no lid on that bucket there," and he said, "Oh, don't worry, the others will just pull him back in."
Ugh.
And he said, sure enough, there's one of them trying to get out, and yeah, two of them are just, no, just get back down here. So you do have the crabs in a bucket. You trigger people when you start changing and evolving and growing and moving into the direction that you're making progress. It triggers other people that are not moving, because you remind them of the goals and dreams they gave up on. So you are going to be triggering people, and the pushback that you're getting, oh, you're on another diet, are you? Oh, I see how long this one's lasting. Oh, you're going to start that side business, are you? Well, the pushback that you're getting is a lead indicator you are doing the right thing. And yes, it gets lonely quickly, and that's why you have to be within a community that's supportive, because the rising of the tide lifts all ships.
I love it.
What a great conversation. Well, everybody, we really hope that you enjoyed this conversation. If you got value from this, share it. We will include Ionit's links so that you can follow her, join her free group, come and join our premium membership where we do a lot of bonus content, and we're just there to have fun and really just be our best selves. And everything that we talk about, we go even more in depth there. But make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change. Ionit, thanks so much for coming back. We're gonna have you again for sure, because you're one of our favorites.
You're two of my favorites too.
Oh, and Paul is at an award ceremony tonight, so Paul, have an amazing time, and we will see you all next time. Thanks.
Thank you, Ionit. Thank you, Natalia.
Thank you.